Hello, everybody. I am Louise Phillips Forbes. I am so excited to be here with RISMedia's Breaking into Luxury Real Estate. I'm Louise Phillips Forbes, a New York City broker, a team leader at Brown Harris Stevens for the last 35 years and over $6 billion in sales. I am proud to be among some of the city's top agent and broker. You know, luxury looks very different in many different markets, but the fundamentals are actually universal. And in preparation, relationships, credibility, today is all about providing you a clearer pathway for agents to pivot into luxury real estate, the luxury portion of our real estate. What's a powerful today is that you'll hear the perspective from very different regions and very different brokers and their backgrounds and how they came today. Joining us, I'm proud to introduce Jack Cotton, Moore Zucker, and Anam Hargay. So, Jack, why don't we start with you giving us a little introduction about your journey to the luxury market?
Thank you, Louise. And I still work after 51 years in the same company. I started in my college dorm room 51 years ago. And my company was acquired in 2005 by Sotheby's. And I have been selling real estate on Cape Cod ever since. We gradually worked our way into the luxury end of the market. I've been involved in virtually every record-breaking sale on Cape Cod, either directly or as coach or mentor to the agent involved. So I also teach for the Residential Real Estate Council, the luxury real estate class, and I'm so thrilled to be here today with all of you.
Thank you. Moore, why don't we pivot to you, my friend?
Hi, I'm Moore Zucker, and I'm a team lead of Team Denver Homes. We're a team within Liv Sotheby's International Realty, and I'm in Denver, Colorado, and I'm excited to be here.
Thank you. Anam?
Hi, my name's Anam Hargay. I'm a team lead of the Hargay Group with at Properties Christie's International Real Estate, and I'm really honored to be amongst such a great panel today.
Thank you so much. Well, I'm going to go right back to Jack Cotton, who is one of our sponsors today, to give us a little, before we kind of deep dive, I want you to share a little bit on the Residential Council and some details, Jack.
Sure thing. The Residential Real Estate Council has been around for a really long time as part of the National Association of Realtors, and it is the home of the CRS designation. The CRS designation is the ultimate designation you can earn in residential real estate. Less than 4% of all realtors have this designation. And it's a really great program because, number one, the journey is phenomenal. Getting your designation, taking the classes, meeting other committed realtors from across the country is really so great. And then when you achieve the designation, you go to the events and you mentor with and you network with agents from across the country in luxury markets. It's just such a great support system. They're the most sharing, giving group of people you could ever run across. At the end of our time together here today, we'll tell you how you can become involved if you are not already. Thanks, Louise.
I love that. Okay, so I'm going to sort of lean into kind of one of the things that I think about often, and you know, what I really want to know is that for myself, I needed to have a why. Like, I was not comfortable as a Southerner to talk because I learned that real estate was commission only. And for myself, I really needed to have a why real estate. And so when I converted my vision and my philosophy to be based on being of service and being an educator, the rest kind of took off. So I'm just going to start with you, Moore. What is your why?
My why is my children, and that's also how I got into the luxury space, is because I surrounded myself with the parents in my children's school, and they have luxury properties, and I started creating events for the parents in the school, and it really boiled down to my children. And the real estate industry and the profession is very good for a mother. It allows me to be able to pick up my children from school, allows me to be able to take vacations with them. And it also comes with another price, right? When you're working when you're not working too. But it's definitely the kids. So it's good to have a why for sure.
I love that. Okay, Jack, let's go with you.
My why is that real estate is my calling since I was about 8 years old. So back in my childhood, things were not great at all, no details required, but I would build tree houses all around the woods near my home where I grew up. And when I would sit in my little space with the fresh cut wood and the smell of the fresh cut wood, all would come right in my world. I came to call that my treehouse feeling. And so I'm driven to help other people achieve that treehouse feeling, that oasis from the storms of life that we all face. And we seek refuge in our homes, whether it's a beautiful primary home or a wonderful second home. Your house is your refuge from everything. So when I sold my company, I had the best treehouse builder in California build me a treehouse. We shipped it across the country. It's right outside my window, reminding me every single day of why I am in this business.
That's hard to top. So I'm glad you're going after him, Anam.
My background is counseling and therapy, and I still enjoy doing that. And I would love to say that my why are my children, and they are partly, but really it's my own ego. It really makes me feel good. I love real estate. I love being competitive. I love having a goal and working towards it. And working as in real estate is kind of like therapy still, and all my same skills are being used, but it's just more immediate results, and it's like more rewarding, I would say, in some ways. So that's my why.
I love that. I love that. Okay, so I want to kind of move to our earlier careers and niches. And for myself, I have a degree in special education, elementary education, and I moved to New York to dance. And trying to figure out, when you're new in the business of real estate, we don't always have a Rolodex. In case any of y'all don't know what a Rolodex is, Jack and I do. It's a card of contacts. But sphere of influence is that card of contacts. And, for myself, I pivoted and I became the one-bedroom queen in New York, particularly on the Upper West Side, and owning a niche. So how did you, Anam, start your niche and finding your niche in this journey?
So my family was in development, and they would not give me any business until I could prove myself. So I really needed to, and what I knew was other developers, right? Because I've grown up around them. So we have something called like an affordable housing, where any new development has to have 20% affordable housing. And no real estate agent wants to touch that because it's a lot more work and less pay. And so that's how I built relationships with other developers and got in by doing the really thankless job of filling these units, and really proved myself to them, where now, like, when they have bigger projects, they're going to come to me instead of going to someone who's like, no, we're not doing that hard stuff. So my niche, and for a while I thought too, like, why am I putting myself in like a discount area, right? But real estate is a long-term game. So working in that and working with clients that like a lot of times other realtors reject has really paid off for me. So I tend to go with a little bit more of a difficult client, what others would call difficult, but I think that's where my counseling comes in handy. And, it's a long-term game, so it always ends up working out.
Well, I call that grit, and I love that. It's you can't teach that. I think there are a lot of people that have high will, and the skill, the best way to learn the best lessons learned are the difficult lessons. So kudos to you. So Maura, let's talk about you.
So before I was a realtor, I was a professional poker player for about 6.5 years. Yes.
Missed that.
Yeah, so I guess my niche, I specialize with investment properties, and that happened due to the sphere of network that I was around. I got to know a lot of poker players, and you sit around the table and you talk to people for 7 to 8 hours, and real estate comes up, and it's mostly not a primary residence conversation. It's mostly conversations on how to make money from real estate. And I picked up clients that way, and I started helping them with their investment properties, and experience over time. It's now one of my specialities, and it happened from my niche. It's from being around the people and my network. Yeah.
That is amazing. I love that. That is great cocktail trivia. Okay, so I'm now going to kind of talk to you each individually. So Moore, you're a team lead, and you sit on 6 boards that I've come to learn. Talk to me about how you balance that nurturing part of your network.
So that's really important. I'm glad you asked me that, because a lot of times brokers think that they need to join all these boards, and the main goal there is just to create relationships for business. And I think that creates superficial relationships, and it actually is a detriment to your business. I'm on boards of causes that I'm very passionate about, whether it's children, women's rights, Israel, things that I care about. And from those relationships, I meet people and we have genuine relationships and conversations about a shared passion. And from there, business transpires more organically and authentically when you're there for the right reasons. So I do encourage realtors to join boards, to be involved in their communities, and have the right idea there, to know that they're doing it for the right cause, and business will follow.
Right. I know for myself, like, I was a dancer, and I can assure you there were no kids that I was dancing with that could afford to buy an apartment in New York City. And I was also bartending, which is what a lot of people do when you're in your 20s and you're trying to make it. But, I didn't realize that my sphere of influence actually became fitness, because I need it for my head. And, over the years, I have helped owners of companies such as all of the real estate for SoulCycle and the founders. And so that's kind of an interesting way that I never would have thought of it even as a sphere of influence. So it's kind of those hidden opportunities. Jack, being the old school process, what was your, because neither you and I did not have our sphere of influence, you in college and me and it just fresh out of college, that sphere of influence.
Yes, I had no sphere of influence when I was in college. And so I had to do a lot of prospecting, and like I said, I started a company. I should have gone to work for someone else first, but I already knew everything, so I didn't need to do that. So it was about a month or so, I realized I don't know anything. So I basically, I think it was divine guidance that led me towards that. I'm 21 years old. I look like I'm 15. I'm competing with people who look like Jack does now, gray and wrinkled, which people equate with wisdom and, knowledge. And so how do I equalize the playing field? So I sort of understood that I had to become seen as an expert. And I can talk about the 5 critical areas of expertise that you need to succeed in luxury real estate. But the most important one is really understanding markets and value, really knowing the metrics of your market. What are things selling for per square foot, per front foot, as a percentage of their assessment, as a percentage of their estimate? What is the replacement cost of properties in your marketplace? Where are your buyers coming from? I know that 85% of the buyers in my market come from inside the 495 belt that wraps around west of Boston. I know that 80% of them in the financial services industry. You need to really understand your market and become an expert in your market, and then become an expert in pricing. Because once you're an expert in pricing, now you have something that you can market and start to build your SOI. So my suggestion on your SOI is to have a goal of 250 people, which really is not that many. But if you know 250 people and each one of them knows 250 people, that's 62,500 people that you are impacting directly and indirectly. Among those 250 people, you want to have the gatekeepers of the wealthy people in your marketplace, the lawyers, CPAs, trust officers at banks. These people are focused on advising wealthy clients. And if you have this expertise in markets and value and pricing, you can market them to the gatekeepers who will in turn recommend you to their clients when they have a real estate need.
I love that. The reality of it is that reality versus perception is absolutely not always, it's not always as dramatic as you see on the televisions when you look at the reality shows today. So I like that there's no drama, and there is such knowledge the power is in your knowledge and being prepared to do the grit that's required, you know, not a testimony to that. And also not having such a clear agenda, but just living your life. So I love, thank you for sharing that. I want to kind of talk a little bit about around the consumer today and the psychology. There's an awful lot of noise. You know, we can't escape the digital media and the noise that we're experiencing in our market today. And, you know, we've just seen so much change, certainly after COVID and the interest rates that have not cooperated, the political arena around us. I just think that I'm curious to know, you know, Anam, you have this sort of psychological background that anchors you clinically to do the therapy that we do every day and the hand holding. So walk me through how uniquely qualified you are to, especially those challenging affordable housing. There is a lot of difficulty that comes around that. So share with us some of that stuff from your experience.
You know, I really do believe everybody who's in real estate has a lot of the same therapy skills. So I'm not sure how specialized I am, but what I'm seeing a lot in the market are people are so scared. They're so anxious. They don't know what to expect. There's like a lack of control, right? And that's one of the things that's like being able to help with that anxiety and talk them through it. That really helps. I'm seeing a lot more people are more value conscious, right? Where a few years ago, we were overbidding so high on all these houses and the competition was so high, but now they're walking away from something they don't see as a good deal. No one's willing to overspend as much anymore unless they're in a really desperate situation. And then the scariest thing is that they're so emotionally reactive to market narratives. So there's so many things at our fingertips and telling us, depending on what kind of, you know, thing you're following on social media, they're either telling you like go for it, or they're telling you it's terrifying market, it's going to crash, the world's coming to an end, don't buy, hold. So it's really just working with clients and one, hearing their fears, right? I think the most important thing that I do in my job is I just listen. I don't share much. Like I would, you know, I like share who I am and my personality, but people really just want to be heard and they're not feeling that in this world and the time right now. So listening, active listening, and reflective validation is like, yeah, you're scared. We're all scared. I'm scared too. It is a scary time. There's nothing wrong with how you're feeling. And then helping with emotional regulation and grounding their, you know, making sure that we're not reacting too big to something. So like sellers get really offended by a low offer. Like, okay, it's okay. Yeah, I'm offended by that too, but let's talk through this. And let's not overreact. You know, obviously we don't use those words, but let's not blow this out bigger than it really should be. So
Sure.
Most important thing after that is just, I don't ever want to push someone into buying or selling, especially if they're not ready. So it's really just the guided decision making. And all, you know, just, is this what, leading them to the answer, but having them come to it themselves. So those are, I would say, some of the techniques that I use that most of you probably use as well, but I just use the fancier terms in describing.
I heard somebody say to me many, many years ago, and it's something I use all the time, whether I'm trying to get my buyer to have the courage to make an offer or having to receive or share with my seller a low offer. It's like, it doesn't matter where somebody starts. It matters where they finish. And it's like giving somebody, and my counsel to my sellers is always like, allow them to have their process, you know, because I can't engage with every other interested buyer by calling them to see if they're ready to make an offer, but now I have an offer. They don't know how low it is. So I would say, I think how we mimic and mirror that situation is a very healthy opportunity for us to take the next step. I want to move to mentorship and talking about partnership and collaboration. And, you know, I kind of wish today's market has so many teams and broker leads, et cetera, which if I had known that 35 years ago, I probably would have saved myself 7 years of mistakes. And And for myself, I also found it was really watching myself grow and becoming a leader in my community. I felt it was really my responsibility to stop and take time for people. I have so many people that ask me for coffee or can you hop on a call? And I would say that I probably brought 70, 80 people into the real estate business. And by the way, I've been on the other side of negotiations with many of them that do remember that I took that time. So tell me, I'm going to just I'd like to hear from each of you all about your journey in mentoring, and if there is what those memories were for you and who you looked up to. I'm going to let you go, Jack. We haven't heard from you in a minute.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, well, it took me a while to get a mentor. As I told you before, it took me over a year to sell my first house. I was really pathetic in real estate. I made my own signs. I had a beat up car. I had long hair. It was just the saddest thing you ever saw. But I came across this older guy. He was in his 80s, and he had come to Cape Cod when he was in the 8th grade, which is about when he finished school. So he was a landscaper and a tree clearer. And times are tough on Cape Cod in those days, and no one could afford to pay him. So they would just give him a few acres here and there and a few acres here and here. And so pretty soon he became the largest property owner probably on Cape Cod. He owned, when I knew him, he owned hotels, he owned the Cape Cod Mall, he owned houses. He had like 25 or 30 grandchildren. He gave them each a house. You know, he owned everything. And so, but he never changed anything about himself. So he still drove an old secondhand Buick. He still drove a tractor around his yard to mow the lawn. But when on the days when I was ready to quit, and there was a lot of those because I was just so discouraged. And he wouldn't really, I never told him why I was coming to visit him. But I would go and visit him and he would tell me stories. He'd say, get in the car, he'd drive me around, tell me more stories. Then he'd say, why don't you go sell that? And then I would, and then I'd feel better for another day. So the difference he made in my life, I wouldn't be here without this guy today. And so my turn now is to be a mentor for other people, which is why I teach for RRC. Agents call me from all over the country all the time looking for advice. Or can you look at this? Can you proof this? Can you tell me what you think I'm doing wrong here? And I'm really happy to do that because it's sort of giving back from what was given to me in my early years from that mentor. Then I realized I needed another one and several more. Then I finally started paying for real mentors who could guide my business and help me grow it to a point where a company like Sotheby's would want to buy it. So mentorship is critical. No one gets where you want to go by themselves. You need help.
Amen. Amen. I couldn't say that better. More, let's learn about your journey.
Yeah, I've had mentors, both paid and unpaid throughout my career. And I found that the main core that a mentor can give you is accountability. And I think if you have someone that's around you, and that's what I provide my brokers on my team, is holding them accountable and finding someone to hold you accountable. Especially as a team lead, you know, we get so caught up on taking care of our agents that we also forget about our own business. So having accountability on both ends is going to help you no matter what stage you are in your real estate career. And also, just by being on this webinar, whoever is listening in, you already are doing the right things. You're taking time out to educate yourself. You're taking the time out to hear opinions of top producing brokers and gives you a push for your business. So continue those things. You know, I join in on a lot of these webinars. I listen to other brokers. I go to conferences and just learning from each other. Just the information you're hearing from everyone here is invaluable.
I love that. And Nam, share. You're a multi-generational family of real estate. Tell me your mentors.
So I've been lucky because my family and my dad, they, you know, made such a beautiful legacy that I've been mentored by them. But I think it's really important making sure when you pick a mentor, you find someone who has the same beliefs and aligns with what you are looking to build and create. But that's what now too, with starting my own team, is I really want to give back. I really feel blessed in this business and I enjoy it, and I'm able to stay like calm, level-headed with it. So I want to teach others and help them. And I really believe in like the abundance theory where there's enough for everybody to go around. So if I can help someone succeed and get better than me, I would feel like that's the biggest, success. So yeah, that's pretty much.
There are no coincidences why the five of us have been brought together. There's a lot of simpatico in our philosophies and how we have viewed our journeys. I will also say that I learned early on that my buyers and my sellers, my clients, they'll come and go, but my colleagues, they will be steadfast for decades, and that's been so true. And I do feel like we're really blessed because our industry is filled with a lot of weird and wonderful, fabulous people. And when you find your people and that generosity that you receive because you've operated from generosity is quite powerful. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the sort of everybody's influence on social media and how the digital authority that we are all up against. It's a love-hate relationship that I have. Buyers today, it's interesting, they check. I don't really check my clients' Instagrams when I get referrals, but apparently they all check mine out. So it's just a very different business card. And I'm not a big fan of it, but I do believe it gives me an opportunity to be exactly who I am, which is authentic. And that authenticity is very important. But I'd like to know how I'm going to start with you more, work with LinkedIn and Instagram and Snapchat and TikTok, and I can't even name them. There's all those other things that I don't even know what they are.
I think it's important for whoever is doing social media to always remember that you are the consumer as well as the content creator. And if it's not something that you would be interested in looking at, and if it's boring, then don't post it. It's better to not have anything online than to have something that reflects your brand poorly. So I don't post a lot, but when I post quality. And most people don't even realize how often that you post. I think this whole schedule the time and you have to post on specific days, that's all nonsense. If you think about how you consume social media, you don't remember when the last time the person you just liked their post posted. And remember that when you create content, you want it to be, and it's found online, especially on social media. I have clients that come up and say, oh, I found this video of yours and it was 7 years ago that I created it. So also going back to your old social media and kind of reviewing it and cleaning up anything that you basically wouldn't want to be seen in 2025 is also a good idea. But focus on quality, not quantity, is my advice.
Does that mean like bad hair days and stuff?
Not necessarily. I mean, I guess the basic real estate posts that everyone posts that look kind of boring and look kind of recycled, probably those can be eliminated. Your hair looks great though, Luis, by the way.
So Anam, let's hear from you, my friend.
I'm a big social media poster. I loved it in the beginning. Now it is more of a task, but talking about like having a sphere or not having a sphere when you start, you have the world at your fingertips. So that is a great way to build your business and to have people know your name. When I started real estate, I know it sounds awful, but I was almost a little embarrassed to be like, oh, I'm selling something, because that was one of those big, I've only had my license for 5 years. That was when wrote in and feel like all the stuff, we won't say any names, sorry. All the MLMs, everyone was selling something. I didn't want to be in that crowd. So I still have a little bit of that, like the secret agent, where I don't want to post closings. I don't want to post clients. I don't want to post, look at how much I've closed this year. That's hard for me. So I really like to just put my personality out there and have people talking that I am in real estate. And
I'm liking the guy flexing his muscles in the mirror.
I don't do any of that. No flexing. There's not much to flex, but I
just think you have a great sense of humor. That's all I was noting.
Thank you. And that's what I try to focus on, is the humor and bringing lightness to it. And I've noticed that more than clients that follow me, I have other realtors around the world following me, and I get a lot of referrals. So, people think, oh, you have followers from all over. What does that help you if you're in Chicago and someone's calling you from, you know, Canada, but then they're referring business over, and vice versa. Now I can build connections too. So I really believe in social media. It can be very draining. I really enjoy when I get terrible comments or messages, you know, that helps drive me a little bit more too, but you just have to be careful and not get too into it. But consistency is the key as well for social media.
Love that. Okay, Jack, last but not least, what's your
Sure.
what's your experience?
So one of my biggest challenges, having been in business for 5 decades plus, is that people in my sphere, my past customers and clients, are dying. And it's very sad, but I lose like people every week. There's like 2 or 3 more. Anyway, so when they pass away and their kids live in the area, I'm probably going to get their business, because if they were alive, they would never deal with anyone but me. And if their kids are local, I will get the business. But half of them, or more than half of them, I've never met the kids. They live on the other side of the country. And so they don't really know who I am. And they know somebody they went to golf camp with 40 years ago, who's now in real estate on Cape Cod. And their first inclination might be to call them, but then they do a social media search first. And so that's why we are very, what's the word? We're very structured in our social media presence. I have a team from Nantucket, really fabulous people from Nantucket, who do all of my social media. We meet once or twice a month, once in person and once by Zoom. And we create a strategy for every month, where we're going to post, what we're going to say, what's our goal for this month. But the main thing we're trying to convey is 80 to 85% expertise, my expertise in the marketplace, and then a little bit of personal, like maybe on my boat or something like that. Never anything controversial, never anything. I never post, you know, we just broke a record a couple of weeks ago on the largest non-waterfront, non-water view sale. I would never post that, because first of all, it makes the buyers feel like idiots that they paid the most amount of money for a non-waterfront, non-water view house in our village. Why would I embarrass them like that? So we don't post things like that. We just post information you can use, things that convey my expertise, things that you might find interesting about the lifestyle here on Cape Cod. And it's very curated, it's very organized, it's very structured. I'm not all the way OCD, but we're very structured in everything that we do.
Cool. That is a very different, you know, all of us have a very different approach to it. So it's great. It gives our audience and these agents a lot to choose between. So talking about marketing and authenticity, and, you know, and what are all of the brokerages are sort of base a lot of their social media, a lot of their marketing is on storytelling, because that is what we do. We are creating people's stories of their lives in their homes in a very purposeful and important manner. But positioning yourself with the way that AI is coming in and through our prop tech, you know, how accessible do you use AI in creating content? You know, how are you finding that? I'm going to start with you more, to see sort of how the real voice is, and avoiding sort of blending into sort of endless trends of today and tomorrow.
Of course, I love AI. My AI has a name. Her name is Nova. She said that she's a woman. So I encourage everyone to lean into AI and not see it as though it's taking away from your authenticity. AI helps me make better decisions, and it leans into my current experience and knowledge already. I'll give you an example. Luxury properties, pricing is pretty difficult sometimes. You know, it's custom homes, and the comps are typically not anything like the custom home that you're about to list anyway. I come up with a price that I believe the property I want to list it for. I pull up all the comps, I take some pictures on my phone during the listing appointment, and I upload all of that to ChatGPT, and I ask her, I say, what do you think the pricing should be on this property? I'm leaning towards this price. Tell me your I guess on what the price is, and it kind of either confirms my pricing, or it says maybe you should look at this comp, and it also articulates the price analysis in a very good data-driven way that I can deliver it to my clients and seem even more professional than what I already am. In terms of how it's also you can use AI, you can ask AI. I upload a sphere of properties and names of homeowners and their addresses, and I ask AI to guess who out of this list will be the next 5 people that were probably going to list their home or would like to list their home on the market based on data that AI knows that it doesn't need to provide me. And it will shoot out 4 or 5 names from that list and say, these are the people that you should probably reach out to. And I reach out to them, and more often than not, those people are ready to sell or buy real estate. Do I know how AI does it? No. Does it matter? No. As long as you use it for your benefit. So I encourage everyone to try AI for their business.
That is, I just learned something today. I like that. Okay, so Anam, talk to me about your experience with AI and how you're utilizing those things in your journey.
I thought I used it a lot, but now I'm so inspired by more and what she said. I'm going to try some of those techniques because that's really cool. I didn't even think to use it that way, but I do use to help me with social media and posts and creating ideas and telling me like a schedule, when to post and all of that, and like what consumers like, what will help me gain trust and you know, with people watching. So that's where I use it. I do use it for like getting some more market analysis and stuff like that, but I'm not using it enough. So come back next time after I try more.
Fair enough. How about you, Jack?
We're using it a teeny bit. It really bothers me, but I know it's here to stay and it's not going to go anywhere. So we use it a little bit for editing. I really hate using it for writing because, not that I'm a great writer, but I really enjoy it. And I think it's an amazing gift that humans have that no other creature on this planet have is to be able to scratch marks on a piece of paper and change someone's emotion, to change someone's state, to persuade them or whatever. So we should take advantage of that. So I use what I call DI, which is divine intelligence. So if I'm writing copy for a listing, for example, I'll put some thoughts down, then I'll pray on it, go to sleep, wake up in the morning, and I usually have a much better piece of work in the morning. So it might take several drafts. As far as pricing goes, as I mentioned before, you know, I believe that pricing is probably the most important part of what we do. And I don't like to delegate anything to anyone. I want to be the pricing expert. I have a pricing process. We have a 7-step pricing process for every listing. We teach the seller what it's going to be during our pre-listing presentation. These are the steps we're going to follow to arrive at a great go-to-market price for your property. We know typically, because we tell the truth, we're going to be lower than everybody else. We just want the seller to think, gosh, Jack's price is low, but he did these 7 steps and gosh, maybe he's right. So I want to be the expert. So here's my process. We spell it out in the pre-listing presentation. We spell it out in the listing presentation, and then we show them the results of that. And we have spreadsheets and all this stuff to make it look pretty and dazzling and all that. But yeah, we use it, but sparingly. And I know it's here. I'm just an old man and fighting it tooth and nail.
Well, actually, you've just touched on the topic that I really want to talk about as being an advisor, you know, being an advisor, but also pricing. And, you know, every seller, including myself, thinks that our homes and their homes are priceless, unique, one of a kind, why they're more valuable. You know, I live in a vertical market. So if somebody sold the same apartment 2 floors down or 2 floors up, you know, it can't be $1 million difference. Or some owners think so. So how do you set expectations around pricing without sort of eroding trust? Especially we've all been trying to navigate markets post-COVID. And I, like you, Jack, I'm extremely data driven. And in order to price things in New York City, sometimes go back pricing annually in certain niches of the market pre-COVID, so that we look at what, you know, peaks and lows of interest rates, where interest rates were. So Anand, tell me, what is your guide in pricing and how you navigate that balance?
So I probably take a different approach than most professionals and, you know, top producers in the field, because they're usually pretty direct and can give you a price and all the comps. And of course we run the comps, go through that. But I work with, as mentioned, like a lot of developers and people who are very successful, and they know what they want. And, you know, a lot of times agents have said, or clients have said that they will work with me because I'm willing to listen and work with them rather than say, no, this is how it's going to be. So a lot of times they want to price really high. And instead of saying no, it comes back to that like guided decision making. We'll say, okay, if we price it high, what's the plan? How long are we going to stay at this price? What's going to be our assessment of if this price is too high? Are we getting any showings? Are we getting any interest? Is the market telling us it's too high? And so a lot of times I do have a longer market time, and a lot of times we do come on high, and then it goes, you know, we set pretty firm boundaries and guidelines of what we're going to do if we don't get enough interest, and then we lower the price. So, but with that theory, like sometimes it does sell at the higher price, you know, so I'm very open to that.
I just want to ask, statistically speaking, do you track and have an opinion? I think it'd be an interesting challenge for you is taking that approach. You know, for me, I'm very clear. I cannot make up the market. And especially, like I said, we're a vertical market, and there are a lot of comps and cross comps that are easier to justify numbers, more like, you know, how appraisers look at things. But just out of curiosity, statistically speaking, or in your experience, have you actually found that you leave more money on the table when you price high?
Yes, it's always detrimental. Unless for the few times that it has sold, it always hurts us. And I make that very clear as well. The longer market time hurts us as well. So maybe ChatGPT, I'll send it in and have it give me some statistics.
It might be an interesting thing to track for yourself of like, listen, I gave an opinion of this, we went with this, and the last 3 houses, I think that they left money on the table because of that strategy. I just curious. Jack, you know, you like me, we're data driven. So let's quickly just talk through, because you had already started a lot about your process and your 7 steps.
Right. Well, first, I'll begin by saying that I teach my sellers that the danger of overpricing far outweighs the danger of underpricing. They're always afraid of leaving money on the table. But if you position properly, and if say you do underprice by mistake, the market will correct. You will get more than the list price for the house. Just, you know, allow time for offers to come in. But my 7 steps are, you know, gather comparables. Number 2, adjust the comparables. The number 1 objection we hear in the high end is those comps aren't like mine. That house is smaller, mine is big, whatever. So we adjust the comps almost like what an appraiser does, but I've developed a spreadsheet over time that is really easy for agents to use. So you can adjust the sales to make the comparables more like the subject. And then we compare to a benchmark. What is the benchmark for your marketplace? In New York City, it might be price per square foot. Another place, it might be price per front foot. In my market, it's a percentage of the tax assessment. We call it the assessment ratio. But find a benchmark in your marketplace, because it's third party, it's not you. When I'm talking about price per square foot, I didn't dream that up. That's the market. That's the market speaking, not me. So compared to a benchmark, and then we present the price to the seller in secret. No one knows anything about our pricing discussion. Next step is we have the pricing committee, which is another name for the office tour, comes through the property, have no idea what we've talked about with price. They all give their off-the-cuff opinions as to the price of the property individually, so we don't violate any laws of agency. And then once they have all that information, they have my CMA, they have my recommended go-to-market price, they have the results of the pricing committee. Step number 6 is the seller selects the price. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, you get to select the price. Then we'll go to market. And number 7 is we test market acceptance of the price, which is the coolest thing ever, which we never could do in the old days, but we can today, test market acceptance of the price. Very critically important to teach the seller on when you're signing the contract that, listen, we should have 1 person through the door for every 1,000 views we have online. I track this, and it holds true in most markets. I should have 1 person in the door for every 1,000 views online. I'm going to report to you every Monday the views, the view count. If we're not attaining that ratio, that is the market rejecting our value proposition. So after 3 to 4 to 5 weeks on the marketplace, and they're seeing those numbers come in every single week, and no one's coming to see the house, They should
That's
start
powerful.
suggesting a price change themselves before I have to, because that is the market speaking. Listen, do you hear that, Mr. and Mrs. Seller? Do you hear that? That's the
That-
market speaking to us.
That's so interesting. Yeah, I have a first 30 days. That is when your most educated buyers are through the door. They're waiting for new product. And if we don't have 30 people through the door, then we're missing the market. So that's interesting. You know, I think we're almost running out of time. So I'm gonna ask you if you will one more time land the plane with us and help us recap the road map for anybody who wants to learn more about capturing the luxury market. And Jack, if you could just share us one more time on the opportunities for RRC.
Well, I can start first with 7 steps or 6 steps to break into luxury real estate. Number 1, map your market, decide what market you want to break into, and learn everything you can learn about that. We talked about that before, learn all the metrics. Number 2 is to be seen as an expert. There's 5 areas of expertise you have to have really quickly: markets and value, pricing, market preparation. Some people call it staging, I call it market preparation. Number 4 is marketing, and number 5 is negotiation. I have 3 rules of negotiation, which I can get to some other time maybe. Create your USPs, unique selling propositions. What are 3 to 4 things you do differently or better than your competition? When you're mapping your market, look at the competitors, look at the market leaders. What are they doing? What can you do differently and better than they do? So create your own USPs. Number 4 is to look for the gatekeepers in your marketplace. We mentioned that before: the accountants, the lawyers, the CPAs, the trust officers at banks, the family offices. Find those gatekeepers and market that pricing expertise you have, because their clients, the wealthy people in your marketplace, do not want to pay more inheritance taxes or property taxes than they need to. So they put the property in trust, which require yearly CMAs from you. You can be the person providing those that'll get your foot in the door for listings down the road. Number 5 is to find your maverick. I remember my maverick. Oh my gosh, she was such a sweet lady and trusted this stupid long-haired kid, and her husband died, and everyone's saying, you need to go with a market leader. And she says, no, I'm going to go with this goofy kid because we connected somehow. But find the person who's willing to take a chance on that new, audacious, and person who really is driven to get their property sold. Get it, list it, sell it, and then tell the world.
All right.
Yeah.
Now that we've got that, you're going to go,
Yeah.
let's cut to the fast tracking of how to tell all the people listening about CRS.
CRS, I mentioned before, is the top echelon of realtors across the country. They're the people more committed to education. They're the most successful realtors in terms of dollar volume and transactions across the country. And you really need to investigate the RRC. The classes are phenomenal. In fact, we have an 8-hour luxury class. We also have a luxury certification or designation that you can take. And for a limited time, I guess they're having a deal of $499, which includes 16 hours of coursework. They waive the application fee. You get half off the yearly membership. There's a yearly conference called Celebration. It'll be in Dallas, Texas in February this year. And you get a discount on that. And you have your choice of the AI or luxury certification track. And again, you know, some of the best friends I've made in the business are fellow CRS agents from across the country. When I'm having a bad day, when things aren't going right, when I don't know what to do, if I'm hitting a speed bump or an off ramp and I need help, I'll call Alexis in Florida. I'll call, you know, another agent in California, Samia in San Francisco, and they will drop what they're doing and talk to me. It's the greatest, most giving, loving group of realtors because they're successful and they're not threatened and they're brave and they want to help you and they want you to succeed. So my suggestion to you is to figure out your market. What's your feeder market? What is the market that feeds your market? Then sign up and take RRC classes in your feeder market. Meet the top agents who are committed to education and getting better in their professions in those markets and build up that referral relationship that can help you in your market. I've been a member since 1984. And I wouldn't keep paying the dues if it wasn't worthwhile.
It is really an opportunity to have an extended family. So that is
Correct.
great. I want to do kind of like a little bit of a lightning round before we'll close us out. So let's start with you, Anam, then Moore, and then you, Jack, and I'll pitch in myself. So one non-agent relationship every new luxury agent should cultivate. One non-agent relationship. Go ahead.
I'm gonna obviously say developers, but they're harder to get in with. So I would say next would be divorce attorneys.
Ooh, nice. Wouldn't have even thought about that. Honey, I don't have one of those. Okay, so More, go ahead.
I'm going to say interior designers because they can get you connections to the developers.
Nice. Okay, Jack.
Don't overlook the service providers to the wealthy people in your marketplace. In my market here in Cape Cod by the water, that would be the person who works at the boatyard, the person who tunes radar, the person who installs boat accessories. They have the cell numbers of the Fortune 100 CEOs right there, because they'll have people screening their calls all day long, but if somebody calls about their boat, that call's getting through. So get to learn the service providers.
I like the story about your landscaper, the tree guy that got paid by acreage. That is priceless. Well, mine happened to have been unexpectedly. I fell in love with SoulCycle, and I've probably done over 50 transactions from SoulCycle people, if not more. I stopped counting at 50. So that was an unexpected find your passion, and you don't even need to market yourself if you are just living in the light, you know? It's attraction, not promotion. One thing that you would do differently more in your first year of real estate.
I would save more money from my commission checks. I think agents spend the check as soon as it comes in, and good markets, you need to save money for the bad markets so that you can have that grit necessary to overcome the challenges that happen when the market goes down.
Or learn how to play poker with you.
That's right.
With, not against.
Jack, what would be the one thing you would do differently in your first year? Not that you and I can remember. I remember my first year so clearly.
I definitely remember very well, because yeah, my biggest mistake was not working for someone to learn the business. I should have. There were two women who controlled the luxury market in my little village, and they were kind of getting up there in years. And I should have gone to work for them and learned the business and adopted their sphere of influence. Huge, set me back years.
But you got your grit. You got your one deal at a time.
I learned the hard way.
Don't
more, I'll tell you more on the saving money thing. One thing I've done is so set a threshold in your business. So every sale, say in my market, over $5 million, I pretend it never happened. It didn't happen. I live on the regular deals. Everything over $1 million didn't happen. Bank the whole thing. And when somebody who's buying a house here in Cape Cod for their second or third home has enough confidence to do that, I buy stock in their company.
Oh, that's cool. I love
that.
that.
That's
I
cool.
love that. Hey, Anam, what is the one thing that you would do differently from your first year?
I would be stop being a secret agent. I'd be loud and proud and, you know, share with everyone instead of hiding it and being embarrassed even slightly.
That's beautiful and honest. Let's see, what would I do differently for myself? I mean, I don't have a lot of regrets. Maybe I was not a business person, so I would say that I learned early on, and I wish I'd learned it my first year, not my third year, creative visualization about who I wanted to become, because I was literally showing apartments in cowboy boots, unitards, shoulder pads, and prairie skirts. So that is not what I'm wearing today, but I learned, I would have liked to have creatively visualized who I wanted to become earlier in my career. So now they're very funny pictures of me back in the day. Okay, so last but not least, one piece of advice for any agent trying to break into luxury today, what would it be from you, Jack?
I would ask myself a question 20 times a day, because in my market, there are better marketers than me, there are better salesperson than me, there are better everything than me, but there's one thing no one's better at than me, and that is answering the question, what is in the best interest of my client? So if you can answer that question, ask that question 20 times a day and guide yourself accordingly, you'll do great.
That is such great advice. Anam,
I would say hard work always pays off. Hard work, consistency, and patience. It takes time, but it will come if you continue doing it.
I love that. And more.
Don't be afraid to create events for luxury real estate, even though you haven't sold a luxury property. That's how I got my start. I was doing events in luxury homes, and only then I sold a luxury house. So I guess fake it till you make it.
What kind of events were those?
So I did a shopping event at a luxury home where I brought small business owners to showcase their merch, and then I invited my clients to shop in the properties that those small business owners were showcasing their product. I did a garage sale for a luxury community, and I got contact information for 250 people in that community. So put yourself out there.
Yep. It's and be memorable, but be yourself.
Yes.
I love that. Well, I just really want to say that I think this is a wrap up, and I am so grateful for your honesty, your insightful perspectives, and thank you to everyone who has joined us to listen. I hope we've given you a few bits of knowledge, and I would like to just say that if anybody wants to reach out to me, that I am L. Phillips at bhsusa.com. or Wheezy, W-E-Z-E _says on Instagram. Reach out and I'm happy to support anybody and anything they want. And more, do you want to give your little quick contact?
Yeah, please, if you want to talk to me directly, I'm More Zucker on all my social media. If you want to check out my business page, I'm Team Denver Homes on all social media. I'm in Denver, Colorado, and I would love to work with your clients' referrals.
Love it. Jack?
I'm actually headed to Denver on Thursday. Anyway, Jack at jackcotton.com, jackcotton.com, you can find me, or jackcottonrealtor.com, either one.
Last but not least.
Mine's anamhargay.realtor on Instagram. I'm very responsive there, and I would love also all your referrals and anyone you may have in Chicago or the surrounding suburbs.
Until next time, thanks so much for RISMedia and John Featherstone for all of the work that you give to all of us in the world of this weird and wonderful world of real estate. Until next time, Louise Phillips Forbes, thank you.